I have been working as a graduate intern with Stevens Pass since November of 2012. Why? Why not? Who wouldn't want to work in an organization where play was valued and expected? And I knew I was in the right place when I was sitting on the Southern Cross chairlift, heading up the backside of the mountain, and my boss said to me, "Pretty cool that we get to have meetings in our ski boots, isn't it?" In fact, that's where I got my biggest insights into the culture of Stevens Pass. Stevens Pass is a Washington State ski resort located on the crest of the Cascade Ridge between Leavenworth and Index. It opened its doors over 75 years ago when its owners used a Ford V8 engine, some rope and wheels to start the business. Since then, it's grown to over 1,000 skiable acres, 10 lifts, 3 day lodges, and serves over 400,000 guests each winter. Stevens Pass's direct local competitors are Crystal Mountain, a few hours south of Seattle, Snoqualmie Ski Resort just outside of Seattle, and Mount Baker Ski Area outside the town of Bellingham. Over the past 5 years, Stevens Pass has seriously examined and taken action on their environmental impacts. With global warming and climate change at the forefront of all ski industry minds, Stevens Pass knew that if they did not play a role in reducing their impacts, their biggest being energy consumption and transportation, they may not be in business for too much longer. Here's my boss Ross at the inauguration of the electrical vehicle charging station. He has been the one-man operation that has really pioneered all the major efforts that Stevens Pass has achieved since 2008. As we can see by the statement he put together here, he made sure that the environmental mission of Stevens Pass was at the forefront of everyone's mind. By evaluating their operating protocols and philosophies, they moved towards operations that were founded on 5 core principles: innovation, sustainability, responsibility, integrity, and stewardship. All seemed well, and Stevens Pass was on a good path towards change. I've had 2 major projects for my time at Stevens Pass. A sustainability report is created by Ross and released on behalf of Stevens Pass at the end of each year. The data is currently manually collected throughout the final quarter of the year from a wide range of sources, which is a pretty time-consuming endeavor. This first project would look to standardize, centralize, and streamline the data collection process in order to create a more efficiently compiled report. This is a value stream map that I created. Additionally, the project would examine the feasibility of creating a live system whereby the data stays current and becomes visible to the guests and employees of Stevens Pass. The hope is that by creating transparency in the systems at Stevens Pass, the guests and employees will be able to relate to the real-time data, and it may inspire change in behavior. Stevens Pass is one of the ski resorts in the portfolio of the CNL Lifestyle Properties. This second project will develop a coalition of CNL ski resorts from all across the country who meet monthly to share best practices from the ski industry and reduce their environmental impacts. The Chatter, which is what I'm calling it, will be a collaborative group of resorts who care about the future of the snow industry. But back to a little more about the company and its culture. Between 2001 and 2010, not many changes happened at Stevens Pass. No new major investments in capital equipment, no upgrades, no new buildings, something that's a little odd for a business in an industry that's always looking to upgrade and meet the demands of the growing clientele. As a wise Bob Dylan said, "The times they are a-changin'," and so they were. In November 2011, it all made sense as to why. The owners, who had been secretly looking to sell for several years, finally sold Stevens Pass to Florida-based company CNL Lifestyle Properties for $2.5 million. The management and lease was then assumed by owner-operator California-based Carl Kapowinski. Carl also currently has ownership at another resort in California called Mountain High, a ski area that, in my opinion, has done very little in regards to addressing its environmental impact. To frame what I know of Carl, he's a very financially driven person. Over the past year alone, he has cut mission-critical positions, not my words. Training budgets have shrunk, and communication has significantly decreased in efforts to save money. The ski industry has a standard average ratio of labor cost to revenue, and Stevens Pass was above that, so Carl deemed it necessary to change it. The cuts in labor resulted in cuts of some of the 45 management positions, several of whom who had been with Stevens Pass for over 3 years, which is a pretty high retention rate for a seasonal job. Many of the regular meetings that were held to communicate new initiatives and procedures have now been eliminated to free up staff time that could be better spent working on the front lines. We can see here that this is where the culture, systems, and operations begin to topple over. By the way, the shot was taken at the start of the season after a very severe windstorm. I recently, very recently, found out that my boss, Ross, would be leaving Stevens Pass to accept an incredible position with the city of Mercer Island. So with that in mind, we were able to have a very candid conversation about the culture at Stevens Pass and discuss what changes we would both like to see. Well, there is no doubt that Ross was the environmental champion for the organization. He planned big strategic ideas, communicated those ideas, got the buy-in he needed, and got everyone really excited about it. So what happens when he leaves? The first thing is that there needs to be an internal champion. As things stand right now, there are questions as to whether Ross's management will be positioned. After all, cost savings. But after all his hard work pushing things for 5 years, it would be an incredible shame to lose that momentum. Secondly, the environmental mission has to be held parallel with the resort's mission. In his exit interview with HR, Ross stated that his primary reason for leaving Stevens Pass was because he believed that the program had plateaued. He was unable to get the same buy-in to initiatives as he had with previous owners, especially since Stevens Pass was moving on to larger, more committing projects. The environmental projects were not looked at as equal partners to be held on the same level as other projects. What a shame. And finally, be careful not to overclaim green victories. The Pacific Northwest has a very sophisticated demographic who are not easily fooled by greenwashing and marketing. Given that Carl is financially driven, he was no doubt impressed by the environmental achievements that Stevens Pass had gained and sought to leverage that in the PR and marketing materials as much as possible. And while he loves the media and awards, the environmental stuff does not philosophically resonate with him, even when there is a short ROI and high returns, such as the proposal to install solar panels at the top of one of their ski lifts, an ROI of 4 years. It's important, especially if Stevens Pass moves forward without a champion in the environmental arena, that they are very careful to the claims that they make. Stevens Pass has always walked the talk, and because of that, they have earned the trust of many of their clients, as well as partners in the industry, such as the Forest Service. So what's next? Well, to be honest, I want to enjoy the last of the snow dumps for the season, and to help Ross put in some processes in place that will ensure that Stevens Pass, who is already on the right lift, heading up the right mountain, doesn't start to slide backwards. Thank you.